What you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Caregiving in America is evolving. Today we'll explore this changing landscape as we take a deep dive into the newly released Caregiving in the U.S. 2025 report published by AARP and the National Alliance for Caregiving. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I used to think healthcare was all the same until I discovered Pace at home. Now I can come to a place to stay active, see the doctor, or just enjoy a meal with my friends. Plus, having a team of people that help me make sense of my options gives me the support I need to stay in charge of my own health. It's been life-changing.
With Pace at Home, we offer a unique lineup of personalized care and a caring staff that feels like family, all under one roof. Call today and discover a community of caring delivered at your own pace.
Welcome. I'm your host, Karen Summey, with ACAPcommunity and an active family caregiver. If you're listening to our live broadcast, today is Friday, September 5, 2025 at 12 noon Eastern Time. We're delighted to have you with us. Both my guest and I are live in the chat panel as you watch the show we recorded for you last week. We're standing by ready to take your questions and comments during the broadcast. To join in the discussion, simply sign into your own YouTube or Google account to access the chat panel in YouTube. If you're listening to our replay, you can also sign in and leave comments below your video screen, and we'll get back to you very soon. Our guest today is Mr. Mark Hensley. Mark is the Associate State Director for Outreach and Advocacy with AARP North Carolina. Mark has been a passionate advocate for caregivers and aging communities for many years, and he's no stranger to ACAP. Mark served for several years on the ACAP Board of Directors and is our immediate past chair of the board. Mark, welcome back to ACAP. We're so happy to have you with us today.
Thanks, Karen. It's a pleasure to be here.
Always a pleasure. All right. Mark, we know that caregiving is changing in America, and as an AARP leader in North Carolina, we know you're right in the thick of it. I'm excited to have you here to help us make sense of the new 5-year caregiving report that just came out in July. Now, I've had a chance to read it cover to cover, but most of our audience today will be brand new to it. So let's first start by talking about the report and how it was developed. The data were compiled from surveys conducted with actual caregivers, right?
Yes, that's correct. AARP and the National Alliance for Caregiving, or for short, NAC, conducted surveys across the United States with nearly 6,900 caregivers, ages 18 and older. The survey was improved this year in a number of ways. For example, it looks at both physical and emotional health of caregivers and a revised index of caregiver complexities. It also includes paid caregivers for the first time, as well as state-level data.
Great. Okay, so nearly 6,900 people provided the information for the report. So what makes this 2025 report so significant? Give us the big picture.
Oh, Karen, this is such a wake-up call for the United States. We have now 63 million caregivers in this country. That is a 45% increase since 2015. It is the most comprehensive snapshot we've ever had of caregiving in America, and it shows we're at a critical crossroads.
That is amazing. Let's talk about the demographics of that. So who are these 69 or 63 million caregivers? Who are they?
So, Karen, I love that you identify as a caregiver. I'm a past caregiver. This is very personal. These are our neighbors, our coworkers, our family members. 1 in 4 adults is a caregiver. I just want you to think about that. Many are under age 50, so we're seeing that shift. And we're seeing more diversity. That's both racially, economically, and generationally. About 29% of these caregivers are known as the sandwich generation. What does that mean? They're caring for both children and aging parents. Think about it. You could be a mom of a young adult child who's in college or even living at home, plus you're caring for your parents or your parents or your in-laws or both, in addition to caring for yourself. That's the portrait of the sandwich generation of caregiving, and there are many, many others.
Well, as a caregiver myself, I know what a responsibility that can be. And I'm only in that role for 2 people at this point. And it sounds like there are many who are responsible for a lot more people than that. So what does a typical caregiving week look like according to the 5-year report?
So, Karen, on average, caregivers spend 27 hours a week providing care. Nearly a quarter are doing 40 plus hours. And many have been doing this for 5 years or more. It's a second job, literally, for many people.
It sure is. That is incredible. And it's completely life-altering, too, for the caregivers. And it isn't just emotional support. It's medical, too, right?
Absolutely. Over 40% of caregivers provide high-intensity care, including medical tasks like injections and wound care. But only 22% receive any type of formal training. That's a huge gap.
It is, and tell us about the risks of that gap. What's at stake?
So, caregivers are at risk for something big, and that's known as burnout or stress-related illnesses, also even depression. One in 5 rate their own health as fair to poor. Karen, without training, many may unintentionally compromise the health of the loved one they're caring for.
Right. Well, I say that's a lot of reasons to be concerned about caregiving today, and I know they don't end there. Let's talk about the money for a moment. How is caregiving affecting finances?
Well, you can imagine that half of caregivers report negative financial impacts. One in four is in debt due to caregiving, unfortunately, and 1 in 5 struggles to afford just the basic needs like food and housing.
Yes, and some of those financial burdens come from paying living expenses, maybe even in their own home, medical expenses that are not covered by insurance, transportation costs, making home modifications to keep their loved ones in the home as long as possible. What else am I missing?
Oh, Karen, don't forget about the impacts on caregivers' work. 70% of them are still employed, but many face disruptions. Hourly workers especially lack access to paid caregiving that a lot of us in our jobs enjoy, or flexible schedules. And only 49% say that their supervisors know that they're a caregiver. So, they're feeling invisible in that role. That invisibility adds to their stress. We simply need employers to be at the table and realize the reality of today's workforce when it comes to caregiving. That's why I believe that ACAP is a solution employers should turn to as a resource to support the needs of caregivers. Resources like this podcast.
Well, thank you, Mark. And as always, we do truly appreciate your support for what ACAP does, and we want to provide the very, very best resources we can to help us all get through this caregiving journey that we have. And, one of the things that you said just shocked me, and that's that only 49% of the people who are employees have reported to their supervisors that they are caregivers. That says a lot about how many people are really invisible, especially in the workforce, where they really need their employers to know that they're caregivers, because that can help drive some of those changes they need for paid medical leaves and paid family leaves, whatever they need, flexible time and that sort of thing, so that they can keep their job, do a good job, and still take care of the people they have at home or in their caregiving network. So that's a big deal. I want to pause just for a moment to let anybody who may be joining us in the middle of this conversation know that we're talking about the 5-year Caregiving in the U.S. 2025 report just published by AARP and the National Alliance for Caregiving. So let's talk a little bit about policy and reform needs. What does the report say about policy solutions for the 63 million current caregivers and those who will be coming along after them?
Oh, this is such an important piece, is how we're going to make transformation. Caregivers are asking for tax credits. They're asking for direct payments and paid leave. They also need respite care. They need emotional support and better access to community services. And Karen, these aren't luxuries, they're necessities.
That's exactly right. I certainly don't consider them luxuries. I'm there. I know what it takes, and it is tough to be a caregiver and have all of these impacts on your own life as well as those you're taking care of. I do want to stop one moment to just clarify one of the terms that you mentioned, and that's respite care. For those who may not know, what does that mean?
Simply taking a break. Respite is intermittent, temporary relief from caregiving. And it's not relief to go pay bills or to do more work in the wash clothes or dishes. It is to take a break, to go to a movie, to go worship, to go get your hair done, or just have some time to relax. And statistically, it's been proven that just getting a little bit of a break goes a long way to reducing stress and burnout for caregivers.
That's right. And it's only in recent years that people have started to pay more attention to mental health. And that's all those emotions that just come forward when you're a caregiver and you're in the midst of all these situations that you are unprepared for, that you cannot anticipate, and they just happen. Life just unfolds, and many people feel that they have no choice, that they are just going to be there. And they probably don't have a choice in many cases. But there is some help out there to help people take that break, to get a physical break, a mental break, whatever they need, so that you can come back refreshed and do a better job. It's like a vacation, only it's very short, obviously, because you're not going to go away for a week. It might be a couple of hours, but it is immensely helpful just to give you kind of a refresh and a renewing of your spirit and that sort of thing. So it's so important. So I appreciate that. So are we making any progress since 2020? What has changed in the caregiving world since then? I recall some information about Medicare billing codes for caregiver training and more paid caregivers in the last few years. Can you expound on that?
Karen, this is a significant development. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, or CMS, authorized billing codes for caregiver training services under Medicare Part B, and that's effective January the 1st, 2024. This allows healthcare providers, including physicians and nurses, therapists, and psychologists, to receive reimbursement for training caregivers in areas like wound care, medication management, and daily tasks that they have in their caregiving role. And this aligns with efforts to recognize caregivers as an integral part to patient care, or you might want to say person-centered care. It includes that caregiver.
Right. Okay, so those doing the training are all healthcare providers in areas that require medical treatment or activities of daily living. And I'm speaking specifically of those Medicare billing codes. So now the physicians and the nurses and the healthcare teams can take a little bit of time and actually get paid for doing some of that training for caregivers. So that sounds like a great step forward. Are there any other bright spots?
Oh, yes. 11 million caregivers are now eligible to receive compensation through Medicaid, through the Veterans Administration or the VA, and state programs. That's progress. It's a lot of progress that I've seen, especially in the last 10 years. But we need broader reform, Karen, to make caregiving sustainable.
Right. Well, it's kind of beyond the scope of what we're going to talk about today, about how to receive those paid benefits, but we may certainly have some of our community chapters who are doing in-person programs who can address those issues and talk about how to be eligible to receive that paid compensation for being a caregiver for someone in your family or someone you love. So what's next? What's next for America in caregiving?
So we need to build systems that recognize caregiving as essential work. That means training, that means compensation, more than a living wage, and support. The report is a springboard for action, and we can't afford to wait. It really will take all sectors of our community, including the faith-based community, faith-based organizations, nonprofit organizations. Employers need to be at the table, as I've mentioned, as well as local government.
Right. With 70% of caregivers being employed, that is certainly a lot of opportunity for companies who hire people to do work, because many of those employees already have, as you said, a full-time job taking care of people. So it's important to get that balance and understand how to deal with all that. So those are essential things. And we should all be pulling together to make it easier for those 1 in 4 adults in America engaged in caregiving. I know we've only scratched the surface of this topic, but we will have to leave it there for today. And what final thoughts can you give us about the report and caregiving?
Well, Karen, as you said, this is personal for you. It's personal for me too, because I walked in those shoes. Caregivers are the backbone of the long-term care network in this country. And it's time we treat them that way, with dignity, with adequate support, with work flexibility, and policies that really reflect their values.
Right, you are. Very well said, Mark. And for those who want more information, I would like our audience to know that I've placed a link in the video description below your screen so that you can read the full Caregiving in the U.S. report. So please do check that out. It's quite lengthy, but it is well worth the time to read through that and understand that you're not alone as a caregiver. There are 63 million of us in the United States. That's 1 in 4 adults taking care of somebody in the United States. And there are resources out there for you. It's just knowing where to find them and how to work with them so that you can take advantage of those and do your very best job as a caregiver. Well, Mark, thank you again for this truly valuable information about caregiving in 2025 in the United States. And I want to thank you, our viewers and listeners. Hopefully you have gleaned some information here that will help you seek out new resources in your caregiving journey, whether that be specialized training from healthcare providers, payment for direct caregiving services for your family or your loved ones, tax credits, paid leave at work, or respite care. It is our strong desire that you continue to care for your loved ones and also that you care for yourself in the process. If you haven't already done so, please be sure to click the like button below your video screen. You'd be amazed at how much that helps our channel. If you'd like to hear more of our broadcasts, click the subscribe button as well. And please keep in mind that you can share today's podcast with family and friends by clicking the share button. We also want to say thank you to Senior TLC, formerly Pace at Home in Newton, North Carolina, for sponsoring all of our Caregiver Community podcasts, and to Every Age, our sustaining partner. Please join us again on Friday, October 3, for our next episode. You can view the replay of today's program through our website at www.acapcommunity.org or find the audio podcast as part of the Mesh network of online shows and podcasts. You'll find us on any platform where you listen to podcasts as well as on our website. Finally, we have a rapidly growing number of local community chapters offering in-person monthly programs. You can find more information about that on our website as well. Until next time, be well. Bye for now.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.